think about
the time
other
difference.
countries.
Yes, exactly. I got a job doing marketing. You always have like that
A good word.
a
behind,
good word,
yeah.
exactly, and it builds credibility.
Hi, I'm Lucia Z. I'm at the Rolex 24 here at Daytona.
Hi, I'm Lucia Z.
Okay, I'm just gonna get into the
I didn't know if I was
questions.
supposed to say more.
So we heard that the first time you were at the race, you were 7 years old. What do you remember about that?
Man, it was cold. It was really, really cold. But it was also really loud and exciting and very colorful. So in the sense that every car has a specific livery. They're not really called designs, they're liveries. And
Liveries, okay.
yes.
New word.
These liveries, some of them can be historical. So the Porsche, which is out right now in the GTP, that one is a historical livery, and that one's pretty iconic in the sense that a lot of people felt very emotional when they saw that livery for the first time. Back then it was really cool just to see all the different sights and sounds, specifically because of something new. I grew up watching it, but I didn't really ever get to experience the environment of it.
Okay.
It was really loud, very, very loud. So earplugs are definitely a must, and my family definitely had that. But it was cool just to see the environment, see how excited everyone got being around these cars, and it was kind of just a family thing for us to do. It became a family tradition.
Okay, now talking about your family, we go into the next question. What's your family's connection to racing?
So my parents are Colombian, and my dad grew up loving and always watching Montoya, Juan Pablo Montoya. He was in Formula One, and then he switched over to NASCAR. He started doing the Rolex 24, and we had just moved down from New York to Florida, and my dad said, this is the perfect opportunity. This is our backyard, basically. We have to go. So we started coming, and from then, we just made it a family tradition to come every year because he started finding a whole bunch of other drivers. Every year you get different types of starter power drivers, and it's just, it's always constantly changing, which makes it super exciting for anyone that likes this type of racing.
Okay, this is maybe a little opinionated. What constitutes talent for race car drivers?
I would say there's a lot that goes into race car drivers having this talent for driving and the need of speed and endurance racing. Currently this event is a 24-hour event. A lot of people, the first time they think about it or hear it, they say, one driver for 24 hours? That's like, crazy.
Yeah.
But what is kind of a little bit different than what would be NASCAR racing or even Formula One racing is that each team has 3 to 4 drivers, and it depends on the team, depends on the class, depends on various things of how many drivers they get, but essentially they take turns. So one driver might be better at night racing, another driver might be better at just having a longer stint or doing double stints, so on and so forth. But there's different things that they look for in a driver. Either experience. Some drivers are factory drivers, so they're contracted by their manufacturer, Mercedes, Lamborghini, whoever they're contracted with, and these manufacturers might have a specific team, or in general they are like almost like a reserve driver for a team, so that they're a higher ranked driver. That's pretty cool because you get to see a lot of talented drivers. Some who used to be in Formula One, like Felipe Nasr.
And what's the difference? What's the difference between, you said, Formula One and NASCAR? Yeah.
So, IMSA specifically is sports car racing, so you'll see Lamborghinis, Porsches, Ferraris, McLarens, cars of that nature. Then there's NASCAR, which is more Toyota, Ford.
Gotcha.
They don't have headlights, so here you'll see at nighttime that they have headlights. That's different than NASCAR. Here we have the IMSA cars, they have mirrors. They have Sorry.
Cut that.
Some cars, they have the side mirrors, and NASCAR cars, they don't have the side mirrors. Whereas Formula One cars, they are a whole nother ball game of a car. They're a lot similar, more in the sense of the design of an IndyCar. So all in all, it's different types of driving. Formula One doesn't do long races, like 24 hours.
Okay.
Theirs are
They're a lot
just
shorter.
Yeah, they're shorter, and they call their races in terms of laps. So this is more based off of time. NASCAR also does laps, and then they have stage racing, so that's a little bit more different. And IMSA, I think, is just very unique in the sense that it provides different classes. It's multi-class racing, so you'll see that there's GTP, LMP2, LMP3, GTD, and GTD Pro. So it's a lot of different classes racing at once. And NASCAR,
it's a lot more diverse in that sense.
Yeah, so there's some drivers that are factory professionals, and then there's other drivers, LMP, like, that are just like starting up, you know? So the GTP drivers, they're a little bit more trained, and they're more
like technical.
They're not technical, but they're more, I don't know how to say it honestly. Like, so for example, like the GTD Pro drivers, they're more like the factory drivers, and then the GTD drivers, some of them are factory drivers, but some of them are up and coming. They want to be factory drivers. They're en route to possibly become a factory driver, but that doesn't make them like less of an amateur. Like they're definitely like well on their way. Anyone that races in the WeatherTech class or the WeatherTech series is definitely like the large, like they're more like, it's the main series, you know. So IMSA has different series as well. So it's very technical altogether, just knowing the nuances.
And what do you think the fans are anticipating about today's race?
I think they're looking forward to see the performance of GTP. It's the first race that GTP has for the year. It's been very hyped up for the past year since the announcement of it. It's special for the sense of like the nostalgia. GTP existed back in the 80s.
Really?
And they decided to bring back the naming of the class. So they're not essentially the same types of cars, but they're more so that class it has a historical feel to it, and that's why the livery for some of them, like the Penske one, is very iconic because that livery is unique.
It's been around.
It's been around, so it brings back a lot of nostalgia for the older fans. A lot of older fans were really excited about it. Special thing about GTP is that they're hybrid, so they have a lot of the electrical components. So if you hear any of them start up from pit lane, you'll be able to listen to them, and it has a different sound than what most of these other cars on track sound like when they take off. And that's pretty special because technology is obviously changing, and technology in this sense is kind of now evolving to where it can now be incorporated in motorsports. They are, with the GTPs though, they do have to be kind of careful when they come back from being on track. They have to be turned off.
That's scary.
Yeah, in the sense that like they're very like high powered, so they can kind of like the electric component of it could probably be like super dangerous.
Really?
Yeah. So there's a lot of training that goes into it.
And training for the driver as well as the people working on the car.
Yeah.
And who are the teams to watch today?
Teams to watch. Oh man, with the Rolex, it's honestly such a toss-up because it's an endurance race. Anything can happen in the 24 hours. I would say the Meyershank racing car, the number 60, the GTP, they're probably ones to...
Number 60?
Yeah, they're ones to look out for. Elio Castroneves, he's in that car, but they won last year, and they got the pole award last week for this race, so they started first. So I definitely say they're ones to keep on the radar just to see that it's kind of just a toss-up in the sense that anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Do you think there are any underdogs that have a shot at the podium?
I honestly root for the underdogs.
Who are the underdogs, you would say?
In my eyes, an underdog is someone that didn't win last year, or
everybody
recently. Yeah, so that's like, I'm very impartial when it comes down to having favorites or who I think is gonna win. For me, I like being able to see that this is a new season, what has changed since last season, because if you won last season a championship or even most of the races, that doesn't guarantee you winning this year or even having the same success. So a lot of variables play a factor when it comes down to this type of racing.
And what's your focus? This is more about you. What's your focus when you create content for the race?
Honestly, I like diversifying it a lot when it comes down to creating the content. I think as important as it is to include the nighttime racing, which a lot of the fans love to see, it's cool to also include different battles. There's the multi-class battles, which is cool because you can educate the audience a little bit more, especially if they're not familiar with it too much. Including like different types of recording when it comes to it too, because you can record the same piece over and over again, but sometimes I like to record like a action piece with slow motion in it, so then it kind of slows everything down and people can see like two cars kind of battling it out, and it kind of like freezes that moment. I take pictures too, so doing the photography of it, like getting the motion blur, getting the lights, long exposure, all that stuff is always pretty cool because it kind of makes it more artsy and a little bit of a different twist. So I just like experimenting with different things when it comes down to creating content.
And then you already talked about this a little bit, but how has your opportunity to travel shaped your outlook on life?
I think that traveling really just opens your eyes and kind of gives you a different perspective when it comes down to perfecting your craft or just trying different things. Obviously, traveling, you have to be a little bit open-minded into what might come your way, or sometimes like travel doesn't go as planned. So I think that goes in hand when it comes down to just work and just the professional life aspect of things, because you have to be quick on your feet, you have to be quick to find a solution, and the cars move pretty fast, so sometimes you need to come up with a solution pretty fast. And that's about it. Thank you.
That's a wrap.